The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Everyone, get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to, as the voice said, The Angry Chicken, the podcast all about Hearthstone. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, joined, as always, by Jocelyn Carney. How are you doing today, Joce?
Not too shabby. Right off the bat, I wanted to give everybody a little bit of info about ladder from last season. I took one for the team and decided that because I was not having a great time on ladder, I was going to just see what happened if I never left silver. And it turns out I got the same number of bonus stars. So you can't tank your rank that badly.
All right. That sounds...
I should also say I had 8 bonus stars, so it's not like I had a silver number of bonus stars and I kept them. I had like diamond 10 bonus stars, and I kept my diamond 10 bonus stars.
Now that you mention it, that is
silver 5.
That's quite important information to have. Yeah. Because otherwise they're just like, well, I mean, yeah, if you had silver, what is silver? 2? 1 star?
2, I think. 2, yeah. Or
maybe 3.
2 or 3. Silver. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not many.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you had diamond 10 or?
Yes. Yeah. I was between 10 and 5. I didn't hit the 5 threshold. So that's 8.
Yeah. So you had essentially diamond levels of stars, and you stayed there. Well, that is at least, it is nothing if not consistent with what we've been told from Team 5. And when I say Team 5 as like it's some sort of big official declaration, I really just mean Celestalon when he feels like chiming in the chat room. Although actually I think he's talked about this at length on Twitter as well, on his Twitter account. So yeah, well, thank you, Jocelyn, for taking one for the team and not logging a ton of ladder games when you weren't really feeling like logging a ton of ladder games.
Yeah, I played like a couple of days of 10 games each trying to learn the new warrior deck, and I was terrible at it, which is actually another good thing because, I mean, I think over the course of the month, I probably played like 50 games on ladder. I really didn't play very much. I was just playing mostly what I was playing with Battlegrounds. So I'd only logged 40 or 50 games, and like the last couple of sessions that I did were trying to play around with warrior. And I had like maybe 2 out of 10 wins like in both sessions. So it's also kind of good to know that, like, I don't know if it's because it was a small sample size or what their actual MMR calculations are and how much it weighs into things. But those sessions of me trying to learn a new deck didn't tank my MMR. So I don't know.
Well, that's good, because the previous season I did tank my MMR. I like lost so many games trying to get the Diamond 5 at one point, and never made it, by the way. At a certain point, this was 2 seasons back. So it was the first season, right?
In
the first new season. Yeah. Because
we're in the 3rd season now.
I got up to Diamond almost instantly, and then was just mucking around with new decks basically the whole time. And then towards the end, I made a concerted effort, and I'm like, I'm going to get Diamond 5. And I was like, never mind. I can't get there. This was, by the way, before I had my epiphany of, just go back to Dragon Hunter, you idiot. You know it still works. It's actually better now than it was prior to Ashes of Outland. So had I had it then, I probably wouldn't have even been a remote issue. But I did tank my MMR, which was contrary to basically what we were told that it would be.
Very difficult.
Remember the exact quote, but essentially very difficult to tank your MMR. And
and you say tank, you got 1 star less, so you were awarded your rank stars.
I was told it would be very difficult for that to happen.
Right. And so we were talking about this in the Discord the other day, and I didn't want to like out you because I didn't think you talked about losing a star before on the show or anything.
So I was just like, if I didn't bring it up, it was not intentional.
Yeah. So, but I wasn't sure. So I was like, I have this friend.
Oh, wow. I didn't see any of that, or I would have chimed in, but
but yeah, guys, it was Garrett.
My internet habits have been very different the last few days. So yeah, didn't see that. Yeah, but I got my star back, which is cool.
Okay. Did you hit 5?
No, I hit 6 again.
Oh, okay.
I hit 6 again.
Yeah.
Went on a backslide to 10. Got back up to 6. Went back to like Diamond 7. And
so it means you fixed your MMR somehow. And this is kind of why I wish we could know or see.
Yes, it would.
Because Diamond 10 is 8 and Diamond 5 is 9. So if you got 9 without hitting the rank, it means based on your MMR, it thinks you're a better player now.
I would assume that to be the case. I wonder if I was like right teetering on the edge of like the system being uncertain. Like maybe this dude doesn't belong at Diamond, maybe he does. We'll find out. I really don't know, and we'll never know if they don't show us the damn MMR. I guess. Yeah. But I don't think they're ever going to show us the MMR.
Yeah, I understand that it's probably a super complicated like calculation and everything else. It would be helpful to know, I feel like. And obviously there are ways to get around it. Like if you have a goal for the month, you want to make sure that you get 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever stars, then your goal is to hit the rank that will guarantee that. But it would be really nice to know if you were tanking it or not.
Yeah. And it's only, and also like seeing an MMR is only useful information if like the scale isn't like sliding or like constantly adjusting in reference to the entire current player base. Yeah. Right. Like, so I think they might've mentioned that it does kind of self-adjust depending on the populace. So if that is indeed the case, I don't think it would be helpful to anyone if they did show us the MMR. So who knows? But whatever the case is, the system seems to be working more or less as advertised.
That's interesting, actually. If it's adjusting based on the player base, maybe that's why you got your star back. Because if everybody was like, they had so many legend players in the first season, right? So if in the second season there weren't as many people at legend, maybe the MMR kind of like adjusted back down somehow. That went like, okay, in the first season, excuse me, you weren't a Diamond 5 player, but compared to everybody else in the second season, you were.
That would be interesting if it like if it was that
like
cut
if
and dry,
your number
right?
didn't really change.
If everyone if on average
everyone moved around,
everyone got worse, and I alone, this as the single player in a sea of millions of Hearthstone players, is like I am the only constant.
Yes, exactly.
That would be interesting, but I doubt it's that cut and dry. Who knows?
Who knows?
I would be fascinated. I think that's fascinating information. That wouldn't really. Listen, I'm happy to take one for the team and feel a little bit worse about getting my star back if they want to come out and say, yeah, hey, Garrett, and listen, it wasn't you. Everyone on average is worse now because they were all just piloting Demon Hunters, and Demon Hunters on average are worse now. So...
Well, in the first season, I made it up to, I think, Diamond 6. I was also very, very close to 5. And in the second season, I went Silver 5. I was just like, man, this isn't fun. And just stuck around.
I too am not in love with this meta, but I feel like that's well documented enough. By the way, oh my God. Oh, this new season, I have seen so many more Spell Druids. And I have barely played against any up until this point. I'm going to blame Grandmasters, but I really don't know.
There were no priests this week.
Well, then how the tides have turned, because suddenly after a month and a half of going Jocelyn, Demon Hunters aren't that bad and there's not that many of them, and you going Garrett, every single damn game I play is nothing but Demon Hunter. I am here to tell you are full of shit. I am seeing priests every other goddamn game, and I am still sick to utter death of the class.
It's definitely swung back, but again, like I say, I didn't play there that much last month.
I think we cracked it, Jocelyn. I think we cracked it. Team 5 loves us so much, and they love hearing us struggle against classes we can't stand so much, that they have somewhere internally pressed a button that makes us consistently see the class we hate playing against the most. Yep. That's it. That's why I almost never see demon hunters, and that's all you get matched up against, and why you apparently don't see priests.
Yep.
I would like to say I actually currently have a very good win rate against priest. I just want to get on to the next game.
You still don't like it, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Meanwhile, getting crushed by Spell Druid. Just absolutely destroyed. Knew it was a deck. Thought it was kind of cool. Didn't saw it a little bit here and there, peppered around. Seen it 4 times today. I didn't play that many games today. The reason that I saw that many damn Spell Druids, kind of crazy. But that is a matchup I need to practice. Although it's also not a particularly great one. For
Spell Druid's tricky because it just has so many kind of swingy turns. It's got the early Glowfly stuff, but then if they don't have a buff or the Soul of the Forest, then they can kind of stall out. And then there's a lot that depends on what they actually get off of Mount Cellar. And then obviously if you're playing something like Malagos is another possible win condition. But they can be pretty swingy because most of their stuff isn't really impactful. It's a lot of their cards are there just to be cheap spells to cycle off of Mount Cellar, right? So yeah. I'm curious to see the next expansion, and I almost wish I could kind of gaze into the future, because the power level of things right now seems kind of nuts. And I'm where do we go from here? And I'm trying to think of the last time I kind of felt this way, and maybe it was Old Gods. I remember Old Gods hit, and it was just my God, the power level of some of this stuff seems incredible. But it ended up being one of the more interesting standard years. It did. I was going to say, Frozen Throne, I think with Death Knights would be the last time I can really remember a crazy big power surge.
Yeah, and you know what? That's probably a better example, because people got real sick of Death Knights, right? And they didn't go away. I do recall a fairly healthy, development of the meta across the expansions. But yeah, now that you mention that, people were, we were all like, hey, I think we're done with this.
Yeah, we were happy when they rotated. And I think it's because some of the Death Knights, like Rexar, was just you just put him in. Whatever you're trying to do in Hunter, he just is a good end game, right? So there were some like that. Gul'dan's another one. Just why wouldn't you play it? Even if everything else in your deck is 5 mana or less, throw a Gul'dan in there. And anytime there's cards like that.
It was followed by Kobolds and Catacombs. So Journey to Un'Goro was the first expansion that year, because that would have been Year of the Mammoth all the way back in 2017. And that was a powerful expansion already. And then they layered Frozen Throne on top of that. Yeah. It's easy to forget. That was the Discover expansion, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's odd to think, because that seems almost late for Discover, but that's only because it feels so ubiquitous, because so many Discover cards have been printed since. Whereas so many other keywords haven't really caught on the same way. So Un'Goro was an extremely effective expansion, followed by Knights of the Frozen Throne, which is an extremely powerful expansion. And then Kobolds and Catacombs, it was okay.
Kobolds and Catacombs was no Rosticon's Rumble or TGT, right? It was a good expansion, but it came out in a year alongside Frozen Throne and Un'Goro. So I think a lot of people just kind of didn't give it its due as much, but it was a good expansion. In any other year in that position, it wrecks all other third expansions, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I like Descent of Dragons probably is probably I think the biggest kind of end of year thing probably since League of Explorers, which wasn't even a full expansion. It was an adventure.
Right. Yeah.
League of Explorers had a huge impact. Because I guess, let's see, Mean Streets would have been the third, the first final expansion of the year that was actually a proper expansion.
Kind of weird. Yeah, it's kind of weird, pre-2017, pre-rotations and 3 expansions and getting rid of adventures and everything else, just with the way stuff lines up. But
Yeah, but you're right. I think you're absolutely dead on the freaking money there with Knights of the Frozen Throne, because like Kobolds was decent but not insane compared to Knights or even compared to Ngoro, and then the whole Year of the Raven, it wasn't that impactful. I felt like it was kind of propped up by Ngoro and Knights of the Frozen Throne. Witchwood obviously made a huge splash, but they had to deal with the issues of odd and even decks much sooner than they had intended. Boomsday ended up being buffed because, it was a little on the tame side, and then Rasagon's Rumble. I don't even really remember it all that well.
Yeah, I don't think it actually ever happened. It's just a figment of our imaginations.
Right.
A collective hallucination.
Probably a little unfair, but not too unfair. Anyways, you're right. Yeah. Anyway, so my point being, the meta right now, it feels really high power, and I'm anxious to see how it evolves. How they contend with what feels to me right now as really high power levels of a lot of the decks that are out there. The springboard of this entire damn conversation being my own personal anecdotal experience with running into significantly more spell druids than I have so far this expansion. But it's also a good thing, because it means like I'm not just seeing the same decks over and over again, except for Priest. How even Warrior has evolved over time. It's kind of nutty, like Warrior, because that like the main kind of popular on the tournament scene, like tempo deck, it's kind of just now I feel like getting nailed down in Grandmasters. Like there were a few weeks there where it felt like no pro could agree on what a tempo warrior list should look like. Over on ladder, we have Pirate Warrior 2, which is extremely popular and extremely good for just grinding ladder. So the evolution of things here has been pretty interesting, and also I don't know, I guess should have seen it coming, because we've had 3 balance updates since Ashes dropped, which is...
Has it been... Oh, yeah, I guess so.
I just counted by Demon Hunter. I'm like, how many times have Demon Hunters been nerfed? Which I guess is also equal to how many times has Paladin been buffed. But
yeah, but still, no pallies. Poor pallies.
Yeah, they're fun. They're still not quite there for me. It's what I switched to. Not Murloc Paladin, by the way. I am very specifically not talking about Murloc Paladin here. Paladin is what I switched to when I'm comfortable with where I am on the ladder. It's like, all right, it's time to play some Librams. It is not what I play when I'm trying to climb. So, anyways, that's a long-winded way of saying I think the meta is in a pretty healthy spot, even if it's not particularly my favorite meta in a while. Even though it hasn't been that long since the Evolved meta, which I couldn't stand. So, yeah. I guess the pocket between Evolved and now I thoroughly enjoyed. But there's one thing I can say, and it's I'm not bored. And that's a good thing, because I have been very bored many times over the entire history of Hearthstone. So, whatever the case is, we got some stuff to talk about this week. It's a pretty damn quiet week for what I can only assume are obvious reasons. I wasn't expecting any big announcements really from anyone. We just got a Heroes of the Storm patch like right before we went live. I can't believe that happened. I just assumed everything was just going to get paused or pushed. But before we get into that, we want to thank those of you who are supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. If you like the show, you want to support us, that is the best way to do so. You get access to Discord server, ad-free feed, no ads in your episodes, stuff like that. So go check it out. To our most recent patrons, we want to thank Lisa Flanagan and Michael Walters. Thank you so much for the support, you too. Everyone else, go check it out. Patreon.com/TAC. And now, Jocelyn, let's get to this week's Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
Grandmasters forges forward, and I will admit that I did not see very much of it this past weekend. I was very wrapped up in current events.
I managed to watch quite a lot of at least the America stuff, because I was very, very interested to see what was going to happen with Purple. So he ended up winning his match, which was basically the only thing he could do to ensure that he wasn't relegated. And over the course of the weekend, we saw it basically coming down to the very last match of Firebat versus PNC, which went to all 5 games. So it was quite a nail biter for us as fans, and I'm sure for Purple at home. But yeah, so now we are done our week 7 of the round robin, which means that actually starting tomorrow, Thursday, is when we're going to get into the playoff weekend. So this weekend is the last weekend of season 1 of 2020 Grandmasters.
Yeah, which means we know some of the players that have been relegated and who will be fighting to keep their spot.
Yeah, so the relegation matches actually happen Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's 1 match per day in each region this weekend, which is kind of an interesting way to play it. I think it's probably smart. I mean, everybody's going to end up relegated come Sunday, but it's like you don't have 1 whole day of sad, like I guess you're kind of counterbalancing the sad relegation game with but also we have a champion, yay. So it's a little bit like split. It's better than like doing all the relegation matches on say Friday and then be like, oh, Friday's the day that everybody leaves.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, right? Because like I feel like you're kind of dragging it out for the players who are actually in the position of having to fight for their spot. But at the same time, as a viewer, everything you just said rings true. It's like, oh, okay, well, I myself, who do not have a stake in this, am not as affected by. I don't know. I'd be interested to get players' take on it, but I'm interested to see.
Well, I mean, they all know when they're gonna play, right? The only person it would potentially like drag things out for is if we had a player from Group A who kept losing, which is kind of like not the expected way for matches to go. But then if they had to play Friday and Saturday and Sunday, then that would drag it out for them a little bit. But I think like kind of the idea is the 2 Group A players play on Friday, 1 wins and is safe, 1 loses and moves on to Saturday. Then they expect whoever moved on to Saturday to win that match so that both Group A players are out or like are safe, and then the loser who they're expecting to be Group B, again just based on seeding and standings and stuff, then that player goes on to Sunday and you have your kind of like Group B playoff on Sunday, and then winner safe, loser relegated. So
I guess it's just the losing Group A player that I am really feeling for.
Yes, exactly.
Best, they have 2 days of having to sweat.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is that, I don't know. That just sounds very stressful to me. And I would not want to be in their shoes. So I guess let's get to it. The players that have already been relegated.
Yeah, so in NA we had PNC, who I mentioned did lose to Firebat. He in his match, it was basically, it was the difference between him, I believe, coming like 4th in his group or being relegated. Like he had, as far as I understand, like the biggest swing potential in ranks, and his Demon Hunter game in game 5, like he had the worst possible hand and first couple of turn draws. Like every single card in his hand was 5 mana or more off the mulligan. And then the next 2 cards he drew were I think it's Beaming Sidekicks, the 1/2 that buffs a minion on board. So he's just like, what do I even do with this? Literally the only thing I can do is play a 1/2, but what's that actually going to impact on the board? So he held on to them, and he got way too far behind. So it was kind of too bad, though. I was rooting for Firebat, and Firebat seemed to be in a really good place, and then started losing a few matches in a row, and I was like, Firebat, what did you get a text from Purple that said throw this thing? Yeah, so anyways, PNC ended up being relegated alongside Papa Jason, which is too bad because Papa Jason is one of our new Grandmasters in season 1 of 2020. So I was kind of hoping that he would stick around for more than 1 season, but he can always play his way back in again through this super easy system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough to get back in. as someone who's been watching Orange's career closely.
Yeah. As far as I understand / remember, like, did we even have a tour event during these 8 weeks of Grandmasters? Like, I don't even think Papa Jason has yet to like play in a Masters tour as a Grandmaster player, right? That just kind of has his guaranteed entry into a tour. Unless unless when he qualified at the end of last season, then he was able to enter.
I hesitate to speak on this because I didn't even think about this.
I'm not sure. I literally just thought of it now. I was like, I wonder if he's actually played in the Masters Tour and has points maybe that would qualify him. But anyways, as of standings, he's in the relegation spot. Over in EU, we had Pavel and Kolento, which is kind of crazy because, Pavel was our, was it 2015 world champion? And Kolento obviously has been a name in Hearthstone since the very beginning. Like he has been a high level Hearthstone player from the start. So yeah, it was a little bit surprising over on the EU side, though. Kolento did post on Twitter kind of like not a TLDR, a twit longer, the total opposite of a TLDR. He had too many things to say, but TLDR on that one is he basically said, it wasn't my jam. I didn't practice much. Like, I'm not surprised by this result. I don't really know what this looks like for me going forward as a career, but I'm cool with it basically.
2016, by the way, was Pavel's world championship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was Firebat 2015?
I believe so.
Or is he 2014?
While I have things open, Hearthstone World Champion of 2014. Who was the 2015? I can't remember 2015 World Champion. I'm going to pull it up right now by the power of the internet.
Oh, Skaka, right. Thank you.
I'm so sorry,
Gray Ghost Wolf. Yeah.
I'm so very, very sorry.
All the years are blending together. It's not because you're not memorable. It's because we're getting old.
It's because time is meaningless. That is why. And then in Apex, Staz and Samuel Sao have been automatically relegated.
Yeah, Samuel Sao is another one who's a name from APAC that's been around forever. So it's kind of funny. Like as we go forward with a lot of these Grandmaster seasons, it's like a lot of these bigger name Hearthstone players are kind of getting relegated, leaving room for some of these up and comers. So it's good to see. I'm glad that we're doing more relegations, because that was one of the big problems I thought with the 2019 season, was that there weren't enough relegations. There wasn't enough stakes, not enough on the line. Nobody really seemed to care all that much. So for him for these players that we recognize to get relegated, it's a sad thing because you hate to see them go, but it's also really good because it opens up Grandmasters for some of these up and coming players.
That's the thing, right? Is that's kind of what I'm waiting. I'm really. I know we've been giving a hot take on whether we like it, what we don't like, yada yada yada. But I'm really waiting until the end of all of this to kind of see how the whole year felt, because I think with the kind of mid-year injection of new players, it should be very interesting, right? And I don't think it's going to be as sad, and we should have new stars as a result of that. I think to me, a lot of it just comes down to how often does a change up of who is in Grandmasters feel right? Because it should just be an ebb and flow of relegation and then new blood coming in. So, and it's in a way, as sad as it is to see names that we know and love leave Grandmasters, it's kind of like what this level of Hearthstone should be. We should know all of these names because they're so freaking good at this game. And EU at the moment really driving that point home, because Pavel and Kolento, titans of professional Hearthstone. And it doesn't end there. Because we get to who's playing for that last relegation spot. Who's playing to stay in.
Yeah, there's still more relegations to come, which is crazy.
EU is insane. It's Hunter Ace, it's Felkind, it's Tice, and it's Zim. That is a crazy 4 players to have to fight to stay in this.
I can't believe Hunter Ace is on that list. I really can't. I mean, like this time, 2018, when we were having like a Masters tour every weekend, he was winning a Masters tour every weekend. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah.
He was the chosen one.
His consistency was absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
And it's the same in NA too. Monsanto and Algodan, ETC and Purple playing to stay in as well. It's I don't to me I kind of read in this as Grandmasters has arrived. It is what it set out to be, which is the best players of Hearthstone just having a slugfest, because that's what this feels like at this point. Seeing names of this caliber go against each other. So, boy, yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. I'm coming to terms with like having to like relegations are here. It feels early after last year.
Yeah, this whole kind of season feels like it went by really quickly, which is kind of crazy because it was 10 weeks long. So we had the 3 Swiss weeks and then 7 weeks of round robin. Now we're having 1 week of like the playoffs. And what's going to happen at the end of all of this is that one player who comes out first is going to qualify for BlizzCon, the basically the world championship later on this year. So it's going to be a fun and interesting weekend. You've got the Group B play-ins are happening tomorrow. So you get to see people who came in the top 4 spots in their respective regions in Division B. They're going to play off against each other. So first versus fourth, second versus third. And it's single elimination. It's just you're in or you're out from those games. So we'll get to see those happening tomorrow. And then after that, we have our full tournament Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's going to be a good weekend for Hearthstone. I think it's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah. I welcome it at this point. Even though I fell off this past weekend, but I'm looking forward to getting back into some Grandmasters.
Well, that'll be good then, because if you didn't watch this past weekend and you're used to priest on priest type meta, then you'll be in for a treat.
Good to know. But before we move on, we have a sponsor to thank today. Raycon earbuds are back sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. You can go to buyraycon.com/TAC right now to get 15% off your order of wireless earbuds. Joss, you and I both have Raycon wireless earbuds.
Yeah, I was just looking for my little charger pack, but I'm pretty sure they're in the kitchen because I've been using them when I bake, which if it was any other earbuds, I would really be worried that I would drop them into the batter, but they stick in my ear so good that I never have to worry about that. And I can just sit there listening to my podcasts while I bake cookies.
Same. Here's a window.
You're baking cookies too?
We have been baking quite a few cookies actually, but I was going to go with earbuds usually fall out of my ear. Is my same Z, Jocelyn. That's my same Z. But I got a ton of use of mine over the weekend because, as I told you and listeners at home don't know, because I can't imagine they're actually all that interested, but my closet flooded and we had to take everything out of it. And we've just been sitting with a spare room full of clothes because we refused to go back and actually reorganize the closet. So I went in and I folded everything that needed to be folded and had a big old donation bag going the whole time. Raycon earbuds in my ear so that Katie could chill over on the couch and play Animal Crossing and not be bothered by whatever random crap I was listening to. I loved it. I'm not even joking. I used all 6 hours of that battery life. All 6 hours. So go check it out.
Oh, that's so many clothes.
Yeah. Oh, it was an all day. You have no idea how involved it was. Anyway, you should go check them out. Their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, and they mean it. I'm the worst with Bluetooth. I am a relatively tech savvy person, but my iPhone and I do not get along with Bluetooth. I don't know what it is. But,
no, Bluetooth doesn't work for me either.
But this is the one damn thing is my Raycon earbuds that it just works. So go check them out, the E25s. They also come with more bass and more compact design. Gives you a nice noise isolating fit. So go check them out because you can get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/TAC. That's buyraycon.com/TAC for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Go check them out. We thank them for their support. And now, Jocelyn, let's talk about something that's extremely new, pressing, and hot off the presses. That I did a terrible job there. I put pressing after hot off the presses. Bad. But it's the roadmap that was shown at the beginning of the year. The beginning of the standard year, anyway. Maybe not the beginning of the actual year, but
we're really on top of things, you guys.
It's a quiet week, and there are some icons on this icon-filled roadmap that still haven't been fulfilled from Phase 1. And it doesn't put dates, but I would assume we would be pretty damn close to Phase 1 being over by now. So folks at home, if you don't remember the roadmap or you want to follow along, it was on the official site in the Welcome to the Year of the Phoenix post on the official Hearthstone website, all the way back on March 17th, which feels like another 5 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
But they put up a roadmap. This was alongside the announcement of Ashes of Outland and Demon Hunter coming and the ladder restructure and free decks and free Demon Hunter cards.
There was a lot to talk about at the time.
Yes. And that's worth reminding everyone of, because if you look at Phase 2, which is really the focus of our discussion today, it looks sparse compared to Phase 1. But Phase 1 includes things like Demon Hunter class, ladder revamp, free decks, new Demon Hunter cards. They really, anything they could possibly come up with an excuse to make an icon for, they made an icon for it. And a lot of those things are not things that we would expect to repeat, right? We're not expecting Demon Hunter class to release a second time. So, yeah. As we go through this, the first thing I want to bring up was, before we kind of take a look at Phase 2 is Phase 1, is that there are still two icons they haven't gotten to yet, which is the seasonal event and the adventure. Those are the two icons that they haven't gotten to yet. And the seasonal events are odd in Hearthstone. The only one we get with any regularity is the Fire Festival.
Yeah, we kind of get a little bit of Hallow's End and a little bit of Winter Veil at Christmas, but it's usually just play a couple games, there's a quest, and you'll get a card, or sorry, not a card, a card back. But with the Fire Festival, they have done, weeks long events through July, and I always really appreciate that content, because historically the summer is a very slow time for gaming. So when a game that I play, almost daily does something new and fun to kind of put themselves over the top in that time when everything else is kind of slowing down anyways, it's always just a really, really fun, really nice treat, I guess, in a traditionally slow time. So I like the Fire Festival quite a lot.
Yeah, and it really, I want to say it was last year that it became this multi-week spanning thing, right? Well, I guess in 2018 it went from July 16th to the 30th and July 5th to the 19th all the way back in 2017. But last year they tied it in with the whole year-long expansion. They tied it to their
theme.
Because
with their big festival. We're telling a story. Yeah, we're telling a story. Yeah.
In reality, I like to think that internally they went, oh, geez, the real life Fire Festival was a shit show. We do not want to be associated with it. How can we? Oh, you know what? We've got the League of Evil. Let's make a pun. That's a dramatic retelling of exactly how it happened. These are facts, people.
Yep.
These are facts. But yeah, it's kind of it, right? Because we've had Hallow's End before, but it was once, and I think it was the first year of Hearthstone. And last year we had an event around Halloween time, Doom in the Tomb, but that was a one-off. That was very specifically something that was themed around what was happening in the year-long story arc that they were telling. So,
right, and that was part of the meta that you hated with everything that you were.
I love that event, though. I still stand by that. I think that's one of the coolest events they've ever done. Putting wild cards back in standard for a limited time was super rad. I just want my cake and eat it too. Take one of those cards out if they are completely dominating the meta and causing staleness, which is exactly what Evolve did. But thank you for getting me off on that rant again. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're just like a toy monkey. You wound me up and pointed me at Evolve.
That's obvi why I'm here.
Editor's note. Before the show, Jocelyn said obvi, and I went off on her because I hate it. I hate it so much, listeners. And she's like, oh, wonderful. I'm going to slip into the show. And there it is. There it is. I still hate it. I hate it with everything that I am. More than evolve.
But I did it.
I hate it more than
You're
crackle.
welcome, everyone.
I hate it more than crackle. Anyways, so the point I'm trying to get at here is that events in Hearthstone, you can't really depend on them to be the same thing year over year. Fire Festival has been the most consistent in at least namesake. So maybe it'll be Fire Festival, but maybe it won't.
Yeah, and timing, a couple of weeks in July. Like I would expect them to do something for a couple of weeks in July. Probably,
right. The other one that's just odd is the adventure. Like, how is it so late? Like, I realize, with Battlegrounds and things like the Tavern Pass, we've got new, I would argue, more exciting things to promote and to monetize. But this seems late at this point for the adventure.
Yeah, and I kind of struggle with calling anything late this year because we are obviously dealing with things that are just total crazy, out of the ordinary situations, and we have been basically since this expansion released, right? So, I mean, they've had to transition to working from home. There's been all kinds of upheaval from coronavirus. And I don't want to say like, oh, come on, Blizz, like you're super late, let's go. Because I'm sure that they are, trying to get it in our hands. It just, may or may not actually be ready, but we are absolutely due for the adventure. It's kind of odd that we don't even have like a name or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of weirdly hoping for like another stab at dungeon runs because I really like where they left it. I thought it was evolving in an interesting and meaningful way, which was my critique of like the first 3 dungeon runs. Like they were kind of the same.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have like no idea what to expect at this point. So it's just that was
more puzzles.
Yeah, another puzzle lab would be really, really cool.
Yeah,
because that was super unique. In the way that it compared to any other single player content we've really ever received. Oh no, Bob's and Battlegrounds. Do you think dungeon runs are over?
Well, I mean, he can't be in 2 places at once.
Did he franchise? Did he maybe he had a like?
It'll be RoboBob now.
He taught someone.
Well, yeah, Bartendotron.
Bartendotron. Yeah. He didn't teach someone. He built someone.
Yeah.
Built someone. Bartendotron is a real bartender, everybody.
Yep.
But let's look at phase 2 because phase 2 that's where we could start to theorize about the future of Hearthstone. But first, let's knock most of these icons off the list right now in what I'm calling the no duh section of the roadmap because it starts with a card expansion. Of course.
Duh.
Of course, right? So card expansion, card mechanics, which like I know we're trying to be nice. Why is this an icon? This is card expansion. Why does card mechanics get its own damn thing? Like just put it under card expansion. Tavern Brawls.
Because icons are pretty.
Tavern Brawls, cool. They're not really limited by phases. They're kind of a thing that never ends. They just continue in perpetuity. Battlegrounds, same thing. Although we do get major Battlegrounds updates around expansion time. So that, it earns its icon spot, but it's a known quantity. Seasonal event, known quantity. Well, we kind of expect one. We don't know what it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. I guess phase 2 would be starting if we're going by previous years. We're assuming an August release of an expansion, right? So that seasonal event would probably be like Hallow's End would fall in phase 2. And then assuming we get a card expansion in like December, then that seasonal event I would assume would be Winter Veil. I'm guessing. because there isn't really like the other thing. I guess it could be if it's not Wintervale would be something along the lines of like Easter with Noble Garden in phase 3.
There's a
because
seasonal
phase
event
3 is always really long, right?
Yeah. Well, because phase 3 would be the end of the year.
Or it feels long.
Well,
yeah,
but also
the last expansion and
technically into 2021, really, with the way that
exactly,
you're right.
Yeah.
So, but I can't imagine
this would take us to like April of next year, basically.
Yeah. No, I would assume the phase 2 seasonal event would be whatever Doom in the Tomb / Halloween-esque. So the fall event, whatever they end up making it, that's what the seasonal event in here is going to be. But again, kind of a known quantity. Even if the seasonal events are not necessarily consistent in their theming, we do kind of expect them. Balance update, known quantity. And in fact, if they were putting an icon for each individual balance update, there should have been a lot more in phase 1.
Well, it does say balance updates plural, so they're just committing to balancing the game, which again, icons why.
Yeah, so basically every icon in phase 2 is like a known quantity. We're used to these types of updates in Hearthstone. Not to look down on them at all. These are all exciting things that I love when they come around. So the only kind of big new thing literally has new in the title. There is an icon for a new game mode.
Yeah, and the only thing that we know for sure in this new game mode is it's not going to be like Battlegrounds. It is going to pull from your collection, and they did confirm that it's going to be your whole collection. So older cards, wild cards, standard cards, everything is going to come into play in this new game mode. I don't have any ideas.
I am going to go full tinfoil hat mode for a second because the new game director, Ben Lee, did give a quote saying the new game mode coming later this year will allow you to use cards from older and newer sets. That doesn't necessarily mean your entire collection all at once. It could be curated segments, sort of like what Arena deals in. But if it's using our collection, then yeah, we would assume it's some sort of constructed way to play Hearthstone,
you're going to be
but we don't know.
Putting something together.
Exactly. So, like, I'm thinking like almost, cool if it was like a cube, but I don't know how you would even do that in Hearthstone because in Magic they can be exceedingly customizable. I think Hearthstone, they tend to keep things a lot more straightforward, a lot more curated. So I'm wondering.
I'm struggling to figure out what they could do that would be all that much different unless they're going to take like a tavern brawl and make it permanent. Like if it's something that we've played in a tavern brawl in a constructed tavern brawl in the past, like maybe heroic tavern brawl, like is this something we're just going to always have available now? And if that's the case, is there going to be a wild version and a standard version? Or is it something even crazier outside the box that maybe every week we've got a game mode that we play that has different rules, like popper mode or, like no legendaries allowed? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out, right? Is like, because it needs some sort of restriction or rotation. And if there's a rotation, there must be some sort of restriction. Like we're not pulling from all expansions ever, because then how is it different from Wild?
Yeah. Well, and that's what I kind of struggle with is like, how is this new game mode going to be different than constructed Hearthstone? How's it going to be different than playing in Wild? How's it going to be different than Tavern Brawls where, it just changes every week? Like what is happening, Garrett? What is happening?
I don't have an answer for you.
Which is actually really cool that we've been playing Hearthstone this long, and maybe that's why our brains are working like this. They're like, no, all of the Hearthstone things have been done. Like I never would have called Hearthstone Auto Battler. That is not a thing I was thinking was gonna, that was crazy and cool.
Would have yelled at you like you just said there were no priests on ladder. That's why I would have been like, what? Clearly they're going to make it Heroes of the Storm. It's the only game they have that makes any sense.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was going to be a Heroes thing. And so
Hearthstone,
they're obviously thinking way out of the box.
And Hearthstone literally went, hold my Stein. That's what battle. And that's the thing. Like, I am so optimistically hyped for whatever that new game mode is, because I have the most trust in Team 5 I've had since Hearthstone's release, because they have just consistently surprised and exceeded my expectations in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing a really good job. So whatever it is, even though I'm really struggling to racking my brain to figure out what the hell it is. I just want to see it because I think whatever it is, if they're excited enough about it to call it a new mode and bring it to the game, I think it will be solid because the last time they did this, it was Battlegrounds and I freaking love it. They killed a genre for me. I loved auto chess and I was just finally about to, fine guys, I will come over and try Teamfight Tactics. And then I went to BlizzCon.
And you never made it?
And I was like, never mind. Don't need to. Stone's got me covered. And then, of course, there's also one more icon that just says spell locked, which is just a cheeky way of them saying, we're not going to tease what this is. There's going to be one more notable thing, but we're not going to tell you what it is. And I'm just like, what do I even do with that information?
Yeah. And so the adventure icon is missing. So does that mean that maybe that is the single player content, but it's not an adventure? It's something different. Maybe it's puzzle mode. Is that maybe our single player content spot?
Didn't they technically call puzzle mode an adventure?
I actually don't remember now.
Even if they didn't, that would be cheeky as hell, and I would be a little grumpy if they were like, it's the single player thing, but we're not technically calling it adventure, so we're putting a lock over it.
But then, it is odd that there is no single player icon in phase 2, right? There's nothing being shown or teased that they're going to put out with the next expansion, which seems very, very odd to me. Although maybe the new game mode fills that gap. I don't know. What if the new game mode is single player?
I don't know.
I was is he going to say anything? Should I fill the silence?
I'm just
or let him think.
I'm just thinking that, and it's insane. And someone's going to go make a supercut of all the times I've said Hearthstone can handle multiple game modes, but with Battlegrounds, Hearthstone's got a healthy number of infinitely replayable game modes. So, what is the future of single player?
Well, Elvix in the chat room is suggesting Slay the Spire, which is quite popular with Hearthstone players and streamers right now. And I haven't really played it, but my husband has played a lot of it, and it looks interesting. It's using cards to deal damage to enemies as you work your way up through a kind of gauntlet.
It's basically a much more robust version of Dungeon Run.
Yeah.
It's very much cut from that cloth. It's just where Dungeon Run might be a really fun pair of shorts. Slay the Spire is a 3-piece suit.
Yeah, Dungeon Run is a little bit different because you do still have to play in the traditional Hearthstone board ecosystem. So you're still, playing down minions that are dealing damage to different minions on the other side of the board, or hitting the face of whatever the monster is that you're fighting, whereas Slay the Spire is you choose a character that then has powers based on the cards and mana they have available, if I understand correctly. So it's a little different because it would take the Hearthstone board completely out of the equation.
I don't know. I stand by that. I think Dungeon Run could have been its own button that just was updated over time instead of Witchwood has its own Dungeon Run and Rossagon's Rumble has its own Dungeon Run and Dalaran Heist and so on and so forth, even though Dalaran Heist was amazing and actually did something to move the mode forward. But yeah, who knows? But new game mode is one of the icons. I don't think that's what that spell locked is going to be. I really don't. What if it's a more robust spectator client?
What if?
Although they didn't put reorganizing decks as an icon in phase 1, which, frankly, how fast and loose they're being with what deserves an icon, I'm surprised they didn't get one.
Yeah. Now, there are also 3 spell locks in phase 3, because what I was going to say when you were talking about a revamped spectator client, I was going to say, what about the T mode? Are we even at the point now? It's been years since its cancellation. Are we at the point now that we think that maybe they're revisiting that idea?
No.
Okay, just throwing it out there. I don't know what these spell locked things are, but that's one potentially hidden that they wouldn't want to get us too hyped about, just in case, like, in case something goes sideways again.
Listen, this isn't an improv podcast. I don't have to say yes and to everything. They couldn't have squashed my hope for that any more than they already have.
Okay.
So my please take my terse reaction as a salvo fired at Team 5 and not a you.
I don't know. There's part of me. It's like it's been long enough that I've forgotten the hurt, and so there's a part of me that's becoming hopeful again.
Listen, I'm really happy with Hearthstone over the past year. I think they've done a bang up job, and they have gone so far above and beyond my hopes and dreams for this game, and really reinstilled me with like that wide-eyed excitement that I had in Hearthstone's first 2 years. I'm not quite there yet to start hoping for tournament mode again. I'm not there yet, but it would be nice.
But it could be.
There's so many things that could be like. What if they like hypothetical? I think we've got one more class. Maybe class bans on ladder, huh? Maybe that's a thing. Maybe I'm just really sick
now you're getting my hopes up, Garrett.
Oh, you're bringing up tournament mode, something they have actually dangled in front of us and taken away, and you're gonna look at the potential of ladder bans. I don't know. I've been playing other games where they let you veto certain things, and I don't think I'm coming back around on the idea of a class ban. I don't think it would be as stifling as we once feared it would be.
What if phase 3, 2 of those icons are a new class and a new free class deck?
No way. No way.
What if in phase 3, what if come December we get monks?
No. First of all, if it's monks and not death knights, we're going to have words.
Not me and you. I don't make the decisions.
No, I will blame you. I will blame you for putting it out into the universe that monks could possibly come before
monks
death
come
knights.
before. Got it. Sorry. Well, demon hunters came before everyone extra, so come on. Be mad at demon hunters.
Well, frankly,
they are way out of line.
If you were to ask me, they should have been before Death Knights because Burning Crusade came before Wrath of the Lich King.
And
the World of Warcraft team just wasn't awesome enough at the time.
All right.
At the time. They were with Wrath of the Lich King. That was a perfect MMO expansion. You're getting me so distracted here.
I'm sorry.
I don't know. There's just so many. There's things like that like it could be, but we have absolutely no way of knowing. Like I'm operating off of zero inside knowledge. Not a zilch. This is complete conjecture. Who knows? I couldn't get anything out of them because they showed us this roadmap at the summit, and I'm like, "Hey, what's that spell lock stuff?" And they're like, "Wouldn't you like to know?" I'm like,
"Yes, that's why I asked."
Yes, I would. Yeah, I would indeed like to know. So.
One thing we are getting, which is interesting in phase 3, is achievements and progression. So this is something that they had talked about. I kind of thought we would be getting it more along the lines of like phase 2, like after all the dust cleared from demon hunters. But I am still excited to have achievements and something that's a little bit more like meaningful to work towards than just level 60 because.
I personally... I'm curious what progression means, but I've never been a big achievements fan myself.
Oh, really? I'm such an achievement completionist type person.
Stand when I'm playing one of the greatest single player experiences of my life, and you can throw a dart at Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption or God of War, the new one. The first 3 are fun, but they're nothing compared to the new one in terms of a single player experience. And a little ding, you did this. And I'm like, I don't give a shit, PlayStation. Could you please stop taking me out of this extremely dramatic moment? Now, this is Hearthstone, much more gamified. I'm not sitting here going, oh my God, what is Reno going to do next? I do love Reno, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't pull me in like the most recent God of War did. So like, at least it's not going to be intrusive, but really I've just never been an achievement chaser. It's never been something that has really motivated me to go and do something in a game unless it has a pretty rockin' reward at the other end. And so at the end of the day, like to me, that's just progression. Like if it happens to be attached to an achievement system, I don't care. I'm trying to progress to get the thing that I want. I don't give a crap about achievements individually. But that's,
see, for me, the achievements are what I want. I love that little ding. Oh man, I live for the ding.
I'm so glad too, because wouldn't this be boring if we were like, yeah, this sucks. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah,
it
screw
sucks.
achievements.
It sucks. Screw it. I'm so glad that we've never actually talked about achievements before, I don't think. So I didn't know if you like them or not. And it's not like I'm like anti-achievement. It's not the kind of thing I get hyped about. It's fine that they're there. And then there's like 3 spell lock things in phase 3. I don't even know what that is. Like, what could any of this stuff be?
Especially like, oh man, especially when they show like this % of players has this and it's a really, really low number. It's like 0.5% of players have done this. I'm like, I need to do that then. Obviously, I need to do that right now. That is now my sole purpose in this game. Screw you, story. I need to go find every single audio recording on a tape recorder that's hidden in this game. Like, yeah, that's me. It totally derails my play experience and I love it.
Can't do it. Can't do it. I gotta find out what happens to Kratos and Atreus next. I gotta find out. Actually, the hidden side stuff in that game is incredible. Anyway, stop. Jocelyn, stop trying to get me to talk about God of War.
I'm sorry.
So, anyways, this is really kind of as far as I wanted to kind of laser focus in on the roadmap. We'll probably come back to it for phase 3 once we kind of see what phase 2 has in store for us, especially when we see what the hell the spell lock thing is. I hope they tell us, by the way, especially if it ends up being something that's a little, I don't want to say underwhelming, but innocuous, something that we may not think that they had actually placed on the roadmap as like a hidden thing. I hope they're like, hey y'all, and they have like a nice, I don't know, animation of this icon coming off the roadmap. I was going to say,
I'm expecting, some sort of animation video to coincide with like the release of phase 2 and the information about the next expansion. Like, I'm expecting to see them zoom in on phase 2 and then have like the icon like flip over and then zoom in to like the expansion trailer or something. You know, that's kind of how I'm picturing them using the roadmap. Maybe they won't, but I can dream.
Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. Eventually we'll find out. But whatever the case is, before we move on to Battlegrounds, which at the rate this show has been going, I think is also going to serve as our email segment because it is entirely brought to you by our listeners writing in to cacpodcast@gmail.com or dropping us a message in the Patreon Discord. Because there's been like nothing really groundbreaking in Battlegrounds for a little while now. We have a second sponsor to thank today, which is MeUndies. That's right, listeners. Your favorite part of the Angry Chicken. I know you
totally not on purpose. I wore my MeUndies shirt today.
Oh, rad. I like that shirt. I don't have that shirt.
Oh, it's so comfy.
Oh, that's so good. It's so good. Anyways, you should go to MeUndies.com/TAC right now. You're going to get 15% off your first pair of MeUndies. I know, listeners, that you subscribe for Hearthstone, but we know you stay to just hear us talk about our underpants publicly. I know it. So go check them out. They are sponsoring this episode. You're missing out if you haven't tried the softest, most comfortable undies I have ever had the pleasure of covering my booty with. They're so comfortable. Joss, I don't know about you, but when I tried like my first pair, it was like one of those things where I was thinking to myself, yeah, I get it. I know how advertising works. Of course, you're going to tell me that your undies are the most
softest ever.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then I tried them on, and
They're
frankly,
magical.
Yes, it's so nice when things live up to the hype. They didn't spell lock their comfort. Okay, they told us exactly how comfortable these undies are, and they delivered. It's fantastic, and honestly, listeners, it has basically replaced my entire undie drawer. at this point. And yes, I do go for their outlandish prints. So I open my underwear drawer and it looks like a rave is happening in my underwear drawer.
It's the right way to do things. I just got ones that had killer whales on them, and I was like, I didn't even know I needed these, but I do.
I still don't know if I love or am a little weirded out by the fact that I think you and I have mostly all the same prints for our underwear. But
I know.
That is just
Which ones are you wearing today, Garrett?
That's just the bonds of purple and like orange skulls.
Oh, okay. I've got the coffee ones on today.
Lovely. But that's just the bonds of podcasting. Eventually you podcast long enough that your undies match.
Your underwear matches.
So go check it out, everybody. They also have a membership where every month you're going to get the softest undies ever at your door. It's super convenient. Don't even have to leave the house. So go check it out. You're also going to get site-wide savings. So, you know, that you see a shirt you like what Joce is wearing, you can save some money on it. So go check it out. Get 15% off your first order. You're also going to get free shipping and a 100% satisfaction guarantee when you go to meundies.com/TAC. That's meundies.com/TAC. We thank them for their support. And we thank you for writing in either to the email or to the patron Discord, because otherwise, I'm not sure what we were going to talk about in Battlegrounds this week.
Have a good battle, friend.
I will, Bob. King Dupless dropped us a Discord message in the patron Discord and wants to know, is there any minion from the most recent expansion that you feel belongs in Battlegrounds? And if so, at what tavern tier? My brain immediately went, by the way, to the dragon that gives all your Murlocs Divine Shield from the last expansion. I'm like, nope, that's the wrong expansion, Garrett. You did a bad job. But I do think there'd be something, like real quick, I think there'd be something cool with that if we removed Megasaur. I think Megasaur still exists, and there's a way to give your entire board poison easily. I think it's too powerful, but I think there's a world where that potentially replaces Megasaur, maybe even goes down to a tavern tier, which is probably controversial. Might seem too powerful, but I think we could play with it.
I think Divine Shields are okay in a world where right now we've got Divine Shield, Wind Fury, and Poison as a potential. So I think that it sounds very powerful, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay for tribes to have powerful end games, but I think that brings it more in line with everybody else. I think the fact you can give your whole board Wind Fury, Poison, Divine Shield is crazy.
Yes, it's a little nutty. I'm really hoping, by the way, that whenever the next Battleground update comes, that like something happens with poisonous Murlocs. Like I'm a little done.
Yeah,
a little done with it.
Well, and it's been a really, really long time since we've had a Battlegrounds update, right? In the general timing world of Battlegrounds, like the last big one was Dragons, and that was a while ago now.
Yeah. I'm like expecting a follow-up because they told us to expect like a Battlegrounds update on the scale of dragons around every expansion. And I'm sorry, the most recent update was not even close.
Yeah, heroes are not as meta defining and changing in general. I know that we've had some like Deathwing launches before, but heroes in general don't completely change how we play Battlegrounds. Minions do. So I'm looking forward to a revamp of the minion pool, which you're right, should be happening soon-ish because the expansion has been around for a while. So
yeah. And again, it's like I'm trying not to take. I'm not taking the roadmap like as concrete, right? I don't think they're going to have one icon per update. Obviously, they didn't do balance updates. That would be insane anyway. They don't know how many they're going to make is when it comes to balance updates for constructed. But it just seems, now that we've had some time with it, and you hit the nail on the head. It's like new heroes are awesome, but they don't change every game that you play. But minions do. Minion adjustments and new minions do change like every single game. So be interested to see that.
So
anyway,
what do you pick from Ashes of Outland?
So kind of the first, I just started kind of scrolling through Ashes of Outland, and like the first thing that kind of caught my eye that I thought would be interesting and a little nutty is Skeletal Dragon.
I can't believe you picked this thing because this thing would be so OP.
Maybe right? Maybe.
Like there would have to be one available in tier 6.
So some of these picks, I will say, I'm not 100% on board for the card as is, but there's something in it that I do find extremely interesting. I would like to introduce maybe in a version that is bespoke for Battlegrounds.
Okay, because this literally says, like, just at the end of your turn, get a minion, and then that's at worst 1 gold, at best something that fits into your comp, especially when it has the tribe on it, and dragons specifically are so individually powerful. There aren't very many individual dragons that are just straight up bad that you don't want to play.
I know.
Like,
I know.
what are you thinking, Garrett?
Bear with me here. Bear with me. I realize that dragons do not need help right now.
I saw this and I was just like, man, what's he smoking?
I think the idea of having a minion generator is interesting. Like, I think it's interesting. I think it could work. I think you would need to add similarly powered cards to a few of the other tribes. Maybe not every tribe, but to a few of the other. Maybe that don't work exactly the same, but in an asymmetrical way, bring a similar amount of value to the table. I don't even know how that looks, but I find this interesting.
I don't know if I agree with that. I can find this interesting, but I think the way, like the stats that it's got, the way that it's written, it's too much, it's too powerful. But I think that there's something to maybe be said for actually keeping this to one tribe, whether it belongs in dragons or not. But making it so that maybe give it to the weakest tribe, and then it's like, if you're trying to make demons work, then you get this skeletal demon that gives you a demon at the end of every turn, whatever the stats look like. And then it's like you have to make a sacrifice by playing a weaker tribe in order to, or you're playing another tribe and the sacrifice you're making is that you're using up a slot on your board to get this like value generation, right? So it's almost like a Rafam hero power built into a minion.
Yes, for no gold at all. Rafam has to.
Yeah, so that give or take is kind of there, where like you're giving up a board space or you're playing a weaker tribe. That's kind of where I could see this working. But when I looked at this and it was dragons, I was like, hell no, that is not happening.
Listen,
too much. They're already good.
Typically, when we get a new minion, it replaces another. So I would keep that in mind. And also, like, this one is it's one of my wilder ones, I think, in my opinion, of what I've picked out. I think this is one of the wilder minions I looked at. I was like, oh, you'd be cool. Like, I think this would be the kind of thing I would include in a pretty big update that would probably severely spike the power level of a game of Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
But also, maybe a 4/9 with taunt that gives you a dragon at the end of your turn. Like, would it be that busted at 6 stars? Like,
yes.
Would it?
Yes.
Would it?
Yes. What
if we replaced Caligos with it?
I was gonna say, in a world where Caligos exists and all of the Razor Gores exist that get bigger based on how many dragons you have, and the fact that you would be getting dragons and the way that they interact with each other. No, Garrett, you're crazy.
This wouldn't affect Razor Gore really at all. Like, you can only have 7 minions on board, and dragons are already finding a way there. If this is like an end game dragon, your Razor Gore doesn't care. You probably already have as many dragons as you want on board.
I guess having it at tier 6, it does limit the number of turns you're going to get this free effect. So then it just becomes, how many ways are there to generate dragons like Alexstrasza or Ysera, or like tripling into, I guess. And that's, more of generating a tier 6 than generating a dragon specifically. But I think you need to really look at how early in the game you get. Because, if you only have this available to you for the last 3 or 4 rounds of the game, sure. Yeah, I can get on board. That's fine. But if this is the kind of thing that suddenly becomes available before everyone is even at 10 gold, then that's the kind of thing where I'm just like, whoa, that's too much. You're getting this value for too long.
Fair. I think it'd be interesting. So before I move on, is there any that you would like to toss up?
The ones that I actually found are the imprisoned ones. So I think they're a little bit further down. So yeah, if you want to talk shaman, we can talk shaman.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Really, I'm just using this as an example because it is from the most recent expansion. I'm using Bogstrok Clacker. Really, I think evolve effects would be freaking cool in Battlegrounds.
They're definitely interesting because of the random nature, and there are minions that kind of hit the whole scale of good to bad at all tiers. There's some that you really want, some that you really don't want. And transform effects in Battlegrounds are very interesting because they will remove any buffs that you've done. So it kind of like, you're getting a potential upgrade and maybe a huge high roll, but you're also losing a lot of the value that you got earlier on in the game with like battle cry and buff effects and stuff. So
right. Think of how problematic
I do think this is interesting.
Think of how problematic Bogstrok Clacker, and for the audio listeners, it's a 3/3 for 3, although who knows what tavern tier it would potentially be at that transforms adjacent.
I think it could
minions
be
into
maybe a tier 3. I think tier 3 is when you start getting all the battle cry menagerie dudes, right?
Yeah. But and where I was going with that is like, think about how problematic a card like this would be for Dancing Daryl. Daryl buys every damn minion and cycles them. Like, this comes down, but you're Daryl. You've got a board of nothing but buffed minions. Is it worth eventually getting to like a 6-star minion? Like, usually not. That's not usually how Daryl's winning strategy. So would it kill it? Who knows? Also, for everyone else, would being able to, like, if we're looking at Clacker specifically, is randomly tavern tiering up 2 minions at a time too powerful on average? Maybe.
Which I don't necessarily think that it is, although because it's a battle cry effect, this is the kind of minion that you don't expect to actually keep in your warband. So I could imagine that this would be a minion that we would see a lot more of than, say, like Rat Pack, right? Because a Rat Pack is the kind of thing that you keep on your board, you buff it until it's no longer relevant to your strategy. But the Clacker, you would constantly be cycling through like a Defender Vargas, say. So maybe because there would just be more opportunities to have it in the pool, maybe it is something that needs to be costed higher because of that. So maybe it should actually be, a tier 4 minion instead of a 3, because it is a very powerful effect. And I think I like the idea of random minions that cost 1 more. So tiering up 1 tavern, because then that means if you have taken the time to like buff something up like crazy, but it's a tier 1 or 2 minion, then it's like you're not automatically going to jump it up to a 6, right? That's going to take multiple clackers over multiple turns. So I think that that's okay. I'm a lot happier with the balance level of this minion you proposed than I am with the dragon. But I think this is a really, really cool minion. I think it's got an interesting effect, and I like this a lot. I would like to see this, especially since it's not tribal, right?
Right. And I'm not even sure it would matter all that much if it did, because you're randomly transforming 2 other minions into God knows what. So who even knows if it would be the tribe that you want? The high roll potential is a little insane with something like this. Like, it could decide some games the way that Azaris currently tilts me.
Yeah. Although the thing about Xeris is he has no restrictions, right? He can be anything from any tier, whereas this is restricted to whatever's on your board. You can only get 1 better, and then you introduce the randomness of that tavern tier. So I think as long as you have high rolls and low rolls, like things that can be really bad for you, I think this is okay. Because again, right now, tribal builds are quite important. So this would basically completely mess with any sort of like synergy that you're trying to build. So I think it's okay, because you're taking huge risks. Like, this feels a lot more like pogo hoppers, say. Like, this is not the winning strategy. This is like I want to have a fun game. Let's go brand clacker builds, like.
Oh my God. But if it's specifically 1 more, Bran would be insane, because by the time you're even finding Bran, you probably have some high tier minions. So like,
But then can you imagine like it happens twice
Or does
and
it
say
matter?
like the tier
'Cause-
5 minion is like, yes, I want that. But then it happens again. And it goes to tier 6 and it's like the 3/6 mech chick and you're building dragons and you're like, damn it.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
that is true.
because higher tier minions don't actually like sell for more gold or anything like that. I think it's okay because it doesn't mess with the economy too much, right?
Right. Yeah. It's just, it seems like the kind of like evolve effects. Again, I think 2 minions is probably too much. Like it's a lot of variance. It's also when it does high roll, like, holy crap, it's gonna feel unfair. But to me, I'm surprised we haven't seen evolve in Battlegrounds yet. It seems like the kind of thing that they would play around with. So
what if it just said transform a minion into a random minion that costs
that's
one
kind of
more?
what I'm
like if
getting
it was
at. Like I was mentioning-
targeted. Yeah. And because adjacent minions doesn't really matter quite as much when you can move your minions around, right? Like
Right.
whenever I get an Argus, I just drag the things I want to taunt, put the Argus in the middle, and then drag them back to where they were. So you might as well, if it's only going to do one, just make it targeted.
Yeah, absolutely. So, getting into Warlock, freaking Enhanced Dreadlord caught my eye because I love the art and would like to see it played. So I think Battlegrounds might be my only hope. Also, I mean, it's a 5/7 with taunt. It's a demon, and it's Death Rattle. It summons a 5/5 Dreadlord with Lifesteal. Again, would probably be pretty high on the Tavern spectrum because of just the raw stats you're getting for this. But Lifesteal in Battlegrounds, how interesting would that be? Probably broken, and this would have to be adjusted.
Yeah, I think that Lifesteal would be broken, whereas Battlecry heal effects would probably be more easily balanced because, again, if you Xeris into like it basically if you high roll into this early, it means you're never gonna die, right? Because with a 5/5 that has lifesteal, it's gonna be attacked into at least once. In the like early to mid game, it would be twice. And if that's the case, then you're getting 5 to 10 heals. Like at least it's a death rattle, which means you can't buff it in any way. But that's a lot of health in a mode that currently does not have healing.
There's another one that was like more an example of like what could lifesteal potentially work at lower values?
Maybe.
And I'm also curious. Like now, I've never even thought to ask a dev when we've had.
It would
access
have to be.
them. You think they ever tested
lower
it?
values, but I'm sure they probably did. Because I think if you had lifesteal on like a 1/3, which is something we've seen before in Hearthstone, then you'd have to make sure it was almost like unbuffable, because what happens when you get lifesteal and you can start, buffing it up with, whatever, then
that's
it's
what's
just
interesting.
like, oh man, it would have to not be tribal.
Well, that's what's interesting about this card as an example. Obviously,
With
the
the
life
death
steal
rattle,
is too
yeah.
high, but because the life steal is hidden behind a minion that's hidden behind a death rattle, it is unbuffable. So, like, what if we made this a one attack? And now we're designing a custom card, but these are the things that just pique my interest. In like, what if we not?
An interesting mechanic for sure.
Yeah. It's just it would have to be so undertuned so that games didn't last forever. And now I'm curious if anyone from T5 is listening. Please let me know if you tested this. Please let me know, because like I feel like even like two would be too much. Because like, what if we get multiples on board, right? Get multiple copies?
Multiples on board. If you have like multiple attacks into them somehow, if this dies and then you've got like a Baron on board, and then you're the shield maiden chick from tier 1 dies, and all of a sudden it has divine shield, and then you're getting double heals. Like there's a lot that can happen in the randomness of an attack phase in Battlegrounds or a combat phase of Battlegrounds that I don't know. It's a slippery slope. But I'm intrigued because I do think there are some heroes that really could benefit from lifesteal or some sort of healing effect. But then if they do have lifesteal or a healing effect, are those heroes then way too overpowered? Like I'm thinking of the kind of all-in Alexstrasza build where you kind of like rush to tier 5 as fast as you can, which usually means you have 10 health or less, but then you just expect to win every single match after that, every single round after that. Or like, so if she could then heal as part of that too, that would be insane. Same with Lich. Like anyone that's taking damage, any demon builds, the demon builds that involve your hero taking damage, if you had a way, especially where this is a demon, if you also had a way to then heal that damage back, like, can you imagine the size of those like Wrath Weavers? Like they'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But maybe cool, maybe fun,
possibly
maybe
cool,
good for an
possibly
event.
cool.
Like,
right.
yeah.
Are you ready for the most batshit suggestion that I actually believe in?
This one caught me off guard, I'll admit.
All right. Where are you? Where are you for the video audience? Oh my God, where'd he go?
3 mana.
Yeah, there he is. Terran Gorefiend. 3/4. Battlecry, destroy all their other friendly minions, death rattle, resummon them with +1/+1. This is basically a permanent minion in the Zoth buff.
Yes.
And we already know from Sylvanas that death rattle doesn't work the way you wished it would. And like if you didn't have 7 minions on board, even like death rattle spawns also on board. It doesn't work that way in Battlegrounds. So you're just like you if you kill, like say you had like 6 or 5 minions on board and like one of them's an egg and you drop Gorefiend, you're not also going to end up getting like an 8/8 that's permanently on board plus a buffed egg. You're just going to get your buffed egg back.
Yeah. So basically you would want to fill your board and then Gorefiend it and then refill your board and like put him last. Maybe. Like I'm trying to figure out how okay. Interesting. And you'd have
I forgot about the death rattle.
Oh, okay. That's why I was like,
I completely forgot about the death rattle. Yeah.
But he could, in theory, contain an entire board within him, right?
If you haven't noticed a trend,
it's like Rat Dude on steroids.
A, I forgot about death rattle. But B, if you haven't noticed, I'm trying to find ways to disrupt Dancing Daryl. And I really like Dancing Daryl, and I have had a windfall of having him offered to me lately. I've played so many Dancing Daryl games lately. I absolutely love him. But I think it would be interesting if there were hiccups along the way. Although, if this worked in that it wasn't a death rattle, just destroy all your minions, resummon them, give them a buff, that would basically kill Daryl. Just that's the end of it.
But I mean, it would depend how powerful it is, right? Because if this is powerful enough, which I think Gorefiend is, if I'm strategizing with him correctly, then it's basically like you could have 2 war bands essentially.
If you're doing it with as he currently works and not me completely forgetting about a key element. Yes.
So then he would be super powerful. Then does his power level negate Daryl's inherent power level with his hero power? Enough to basically like push him all the way down because everyone else has the ability to do this thing. Like, I don't know. Because he can just not pick it, right? But then if he doesn't pick it, is that a big enough disadvantage?
Well, you really can't if you're dancing correctly. You don't have that option. You have to buy everything eventually.
Yeah, but you could like buy and I guess, so not pick, but like buy and then not play, right? Which again is to him would be quite a setback.
At one point they're going to be working on selling minions from hand.
From hand, yeah.
What happened to that? Is that spell locked?
I don't know.
I swear to God, if that's spell locked, I'm gonna rage. I'm gonna rage if that's spell locked. Because then that would be suddenly a little more interesting. I don't know. I like cycle minions, and I'm also stupid apparently and forgot that. I completely forgot about
there was a second half to that. It wasn't just all a battle cry.
Yeah, so now I'm
if it was all a battle cry, because you were basically thinking you just destroy all your minions and then they get +1/+1, which then essentially functionally would be the same as battle cry. Give all your minions +1/+1, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you don't get the tokens and stuff.
Yeah. Destroying them would be utterly pointless. It would just be give your board +1/+1. Would be interesting. I like cycle minions, and I'd like to see some more interesting cycle minions.
I can get behind that.
Yeah. So sorry, everybody. Garrett is stupid. Garrett is broken today. Please wait for the next Garrett update. So let's get to yours because defend yourself. Imprisoned satyr, what?
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
so
Jocelyn,
again,
I don't know
with,
if you know this, but once you have a card in your hand, you've already paid for it.
Yes. So, and this is why I like asterisks, not exactly how these work, but basically like dormant for 2 turns. When it awakens, then reduce the cost of a random minion in the tavern.
Thank you for joining me and not listening to the rules set out by the question asker. Thank you.
Yeah, no, like I just think it's their interesting potential effects. Now it's kind of Maevi, and maybe you change it to, instead of dormant for 2 turns, just dormant for 1. But kind of like the idea of putting something in there that messes with dormant and reducing the cost in the tavern. So whether that is automatically just giving you a minion like Maev's does, you pay the cost, you wait a couple turns, then you just get it, or if it's like they added a new like icon or something for gold cost, because right now that's not actually shown in anywhere. It's just that everybody knows every minion costs 3, right? So what if they had like a little gold cost in the top corner that was like, hey, now I'm 2, or now I'm 1, or now I'm free. Like, I don't know. But yeah, that was kind of like when I saw Imprisoned Satyr, I'm like, oh, that's kind of an interesting maybe effect of messing with the tavern. I know that once they're in your hand, you've already bought them, Garrett.
I know. I saw your note. I was setting you up with a tease.
And then the other one that I picked from the kind of imprisoned families, Battlegrounds card, the Imprisoned Sungill, because I thought this was kind of cool, because essentially like you buy the minion, and again, I don't know if 2 turns is Battlegrounds balanced or not, but essentially you buy it. I'm picturing this as a tier 1 minion. So you buy it, but you get basically nothing. And then when it wakes up, you have essentially 3 minions on board that then is, if you choose to sell them, then, you know, cool, you're getting your money back. If you choose to keep them on board, you've got 3 Murlocs. So you've already kind of started the base of a tribe. Like, it's tokens, so you can, you know, use them to mess with your economy. Like, this I thought was a really cool card.
This would be an interesting way to mess with the 1-star token meta.
Yeah.
Because you would be diet AFK.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking, is this would play very similarly to AFK, because you would not get anything. You'd have a dormant minion on your board that would be unattackable and therefore not worth any stars. So you would basically, especially like round 1, you definitely lose. Round 2, if you're going to tavern up, you definitely lose. And then, you know, round 3 is when maybe stuff starts to happen. This wakes up, you've got 3 Murlocs on board. You know, what does that look like? Do you sell them for tavern tiers? Do you start buffing? You know, I think it's kind of cool.
How does that shake out in the average, right?
Yeah.
That is fascinating. I think you have the best pick.
Yay!
I think Imprisoned Sungill is the most interesting pick. Well, it's also like the most comprehensible, I think, from existing Battlegrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And is very, very interesting. Oh, I like that. I like that one a lot. Joss wins, everybody. Joss wins. Hashtag Joss wins. Yeah, because like if you buy it on 1 because you want the 3 minions on turn 3.
Yeah.
But that means, do you tavern up on 2, or do you buy a minion to try not to lose 2 rounds in a row? Does it matter? AFK is already doing that. Does it matter that but early? It's not worth as much as AFK, because AFK gets better minions than 3. So it's like you're almost incentivized to buy a minion that isn't dormant on turn 2 and tavern up later. Is it worth it? I wonder if it's not worth it. My gut says...
I'm not sure.
My gut is now starting to go to no? Question mark?
But when you have 5 mana available, you'll also have 3 essentially tokens on board. Because really and truly, it's a 2/1, right? So that's basically just a token.
It becomes
so on turn 5, you could still have 2 tokens, sell 1 and double buy, or you could tavern up. You could, you know, like there's different ways you can like manipulate the economy then with, again, more tokens. And you're not just then going to have, you know, you have then like your 2 minions, and it's like you've kept your traditional token, right? Because before you would have a 2/1 and a 1/1, you'd have to sell the 1/1 and you can double buy on 5, right? Then you have a 2/1 and you have your double buy, but now you'd have a 2/1, a 1/1, and your double buy. So you have 4 things on the board, which might even break down to like you attacking before your opponent, right? Because whoever has more minions attacks first, which is also a really big advantage.
I have a really big hole to poke in this now.
Oh, okay.
Now that the gears have been turning. This is a very problematic card past the opening turn.
Okay.
Like if you buy this on turn 4, you buy this on turn 5. How you're just not going to have the board space to utilize the dormant. Also, if you triple it, does it go dormant again?
I don't know.
There's a lot of downsides, right? Like, because like you don't want to, because of the way dormant currently works.
Can you sell a dormant minion? Is another question.
Oh, you better be able to. I know. It's.
I would say my gut would be yes, but then that again would be a whole different.
I'm starting to think this is booty. Because I'm like thinking like, what do you do? Like you don't want to. You're not incentive. Battlegrounds 110% does not incentivize you to leave open board space.
Yeah. So then, I mean, does maybe the 2 turns is what needs to be tweaked? Maybe dormant for 1 turn is better or more balanced for Battlegrounds. Like, I just thought the idea of, paying a price for having tokens, but then also getting an extra token was just a really interesting concept.
Yeah, it would need to. I think it would need to get a little more.
But I mean, you can also just not buy it because I mean, Wrath Weaver exists, and the later in the game you get those, the worse that they are. So I mean, this would become very much a junky tier 1 minion. But I think that's okay. I think it's okay for those to exist to kind of dilute the pool a little bit, right? Yeah,
Wrathweaver though, like just constantly grows and grows in value, whereas I think this doesn't because you're not.
Well, yeah, but if you have a Wrathweaver turning up on, in your Tavern tier 5 roll, like you're never gonna pick that.
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, yeah, unless you're Daryl and you're immediately throwing it back for stats. But
yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I don't know. This one, The idea of dormant, really cool. The idea of finding a way, again, as we've talked about multiple times now, to kind of shake up the token tier 1 meta interests me a lot. But be cool if it was.
It's definitely
Be like dormant for 2 turns. On turn 3, summon 2 1/1 Murlocs when you sell 2 minions back to Bob or something. Like it's more complicated, but I'd like to see it customized for Battlegrounds.
Yeah, which I think is kind of the theme of a lot of the cards we've talked about today is like, just like this, but slightly tweaked for Battlegrounds.
Just like this, but.
Yeah, just like this, but.
That's covered in MeUndies.
Yes.
All right. I think we're gonna wrap this episode here. We had more emails. It's just gone much longer. We did start a little later than usual. So King Dupless, thank you very much for your question. Everyone else who sent in Battlegrounds questions, we will hold them for following episodes. Thank you so much for writing it, everybody. TACpodcast@gmail.com is the place to do so, or you can leave us a message in the patron Discord. Thank you again to our patrons for the support, everybody. Patreon.com/TAC. We very much appreciate it. Our Patreon producers, Declan H and Cheesy Bob, thank you both very much for the generous support. If you want to catch more Angry Chicken, catch up on the backlog, see some more podcasts, head on over to amove.tv. You can catch us live Wednesday nights at 5:30 Eastern over at twitch.tv/amovetv if you'd like to join our lovely live chat. Meet some fine Hearthstone people. And Jocelyn, other than that, where can folks find you and the other fine productions you're putting out into the world?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I am at Joss Plays.
Awesome. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. Other than that, AMove TV for everything. Go check out Into the Nexus. A giant Heroes of the Storm patch just dropped. I literally haven't even looked at it yet. Big Into the Nexus to do tomorrow. Brand new WoW Killer episode went up today. If you want to hear my list of shame in World of Warcraft, all the things I've never achieved that I wish I had.
Is one of them the legendary Cloak and Pandaria? Because that's mine.
No, because who gives a shit
No.
about legendary cloaks? They hand those things out like candy on Halloween.
Because the Pandaria one was really cool.
it was a joke.
And had like the big whoosh. Oh,
It was a joke because yeah, I do like the Pandaria one actually. It is pretty,
okay.
but they do. I mean, come on, legendary cloaks. It's like
everyone's got one. I know.
it's like jury duty. It's gonna you're gonna get a legendary cloak eventually. Yeah. And then you just have to listen and find out. So that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
That's a show.
I remembered to stop recording this time and didn't leave it recording for like 10 hours.
Huzzah. Chat room, you've been great. We're running over. I'm going to end the stream immediately because I am starving. So
Me too, actually.
bye now.
And there's stuff going on. My pets are going crazy.
Are they? Yeah, mine were too.